Good morning. Well, it's really afternoon, sorry.
What are you doing today, Ma?
We're going to make homemade bread. We're going to show you all the steps.
We'll start from measuring out. We're using a bread machine. And if I could pronounce what kind it is, I would.
I can't pronounce it either.
I'll show you later, but
yeah, it's a...
we'll load it here in a little bit. But it's a pretty simple process. So we'll get started here.
Turns out pretty good.
Yep. So here's the ingredients. What we got here, Mom? Point them out here.
Well, we have to have water, bread flour, non-fat dry milk, salt, butter, and yeast.
So how many ingredients is that for our people out there that can't count?
7.
7. Okay. So it's pretty simple.
It is very simple.
And normally we'll buy bread flour in a larger quantity, but we were out.
We ran out.
So we bought a couple of, I don't know, what is that? 10 pounds? 5 pounds?
5 pounds.
5 pound. So we'll either get a 10 pound, probably a 25 pound bag of bread flour.
We may go to Bridgeton to the mill to get some.
But so anyway, that's
We'll go to
Sam's Club. So it helps just measure everything out and then just add the ingredients. That way you can double check and make sure you don't forget anything.
You have to put it in the bread machine in the order that it's listed.
Correct. Yeah.
So I get everything measured out and then dump it in.
Right. And this bread machine, and probably like others, I don't know, you can do different dough, make different dough with it.
There's all kinds.
There's all kinds, but we just normally do simple, well, they call it basic
white bread.
Basic white bread, and because that's what we like.
So it takes 4 1/4 cups of flour. Let's see how close we are.
The bread machine makes it really simple and not very time consuming to make bread. You still got to lot yourself on this machine about 4 hours from start to finish. But you know, a lot of times you can get a lot of the other little odds and ends done in those 4 hours. But you're not, you know, once you put it in, well, we'll just show you here. It's just pretty darn simple. If you see there in the background, we've took some chili out of the freezer we had fixed. We're gonna, looks like we're gonna have chili tonight.
One and a 1/3 cups. When I put it in the machine, I'll name the amounts, but right now I'm just measuring out.
Just look at the back of your shirt, Mom.
Honor Flight.
Honor Flight shirt. For anybody out there that doesn't know what that is, you need to look into that. What's nice, we got these little bowls. Well, I say we.
I got these bowls for Christmas. From Sandy, from my brother's wife, my sister-in-law. And they work out really well for...
Really well. Just measuring out ahead of time.
2, 3,
And they're colorful.
and they're pretty. Yes, they are.
Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean Doug and Sandy get any homemade bread. We're just using some of their tools.
Oh, yeah. Shh, don't tell them. 2 tablespoons of dry milk.
Years ago, making bread, we figured the cost up, and if you buy what I would say kind of bulk, the dry milk, the flour especially, and the yeast, it's quite a savings. But what's even better,
tastes better.
It tastes really good.
Tastes better. 2 teaspoons of salt.
But it's a lot healthier because, like I said, how many ingredients were there, Mom?
7.
7 ingredients. Now you look on any of your bread, even your health conscious bread, look at all the ingredients.
I guarantee there's more than 7.
More than 7, and most of them you can't pronounce. So
the butter, I cut up in little squares, rectangles, just so I can spread it out over the length of the ingredients in the machine. That way you don't have a big clump right in the middle.
And that's kind of
It's just a
what you do in any, well, in any baking, you kind of do that. Normally you have to cut the butter in. Well, in the bread machine, you're really not cutting anything in. You added it, like we said, put the ingredients in order, and the bread machine does the rest. So
okay, I have 1 1/3 cups of water, 4 1/4 cups of bread flour, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of dry milk, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 1/2 tablespoons of butter, and I need 2 teaspoons of yeast.
Okay.
Now we're going to add a little bit more yeast just to see if it'll make it fluffier. We're not sure. It's pretty dense bread, but it's good. So we're going to just try this today to see how things work out.
And they actually suggest in the instructions on the bread machine, to experiment a little bit and see what works better.
Okay.
And one thing we do is that they suggest is get your ingredients, kind of have them room temperature, because we keep the flour in the refrigerator. We keep the flour in the freezer.
The dry milk in the freezer and the yeast in the
refrigerator. And they suggest having out, close to room temperature if you can. We've done it both ways, and I don't. There's huge preference. Maybe in warmer weather it'd make a big difference. I don't know, but anyway. So here we are.
Okay, we have 1 1/3 cups of water, 4 1/4 cups of bread flour. I'm gonna you put the yeast in last because you don't want the yeast to touch the water. So we're putting everything on top of the water. 4 tablespoons of sugar. 2 tablespoons of dry milk. 2 1/2 tablespoons of butter. Okay. And 2 teaspoons of salt. And now your yeast. I usually try to make a little hole just so it doesn't, I make a little well in the, just so some of it gets down in there. It calls for 2 teaspoons of yeast. We put in 3, so we'll see what happens. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. You put
That's
it in
pretty simple.
Put it in the machine. It's a, however you pronounce that, Z-O-J-I-R-U-S-H-I.
Yep. So we've had this machine a long time. This is our second bread machine. We wore out one. We've had this a long time. We, in the past, have made a lot of bread, and we kind of got away from it. And
So you heard that click? It's
pretty simple, the instructions. Basically, I think it's just start.
You got to plug it in.
Oh yeah, plug it in. These darn
minor detail.
These high-tech machines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's
It's
set.
got a menu, but
we just
pretty much have always run the default
as
setting.
you can see, it's on basic. The arrow's on basic and medium.
Yeah.
And then you just hit the start button.
It takes it from there.
It preheats it, gets everything warm, and then it will stir it, get it all together, then knead it, let it rise, knead it again, raise it, and bake it.
It goes through
And it's really,
all
really
different
good.
things.
You will see
It's
finished
pretty
project.
quiet. This machine is a lot quieter than
Quiet.
our other machine.
Mm-hmm. It is quiet.
Not that the other machine was like a lawnmower running, but it made a lot more noise. This one, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't even notice it doing anything.
Mm-mm.
But I'll try to get a little bit of something in here, but just hard to see. We'll come back. Different bread types. You kind of go through it. I mean, there's some options. We never really played around with the bread. We should. I think there's a pizza dough recipe, if I remember right. There's definitely an Italian herb bread recipe, which we need to try. That sounds good. And ooh, chocolate bread. I just now noticed that. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I'll eat bread and eat chocolate, I think. But anyway.
I'll keep mine separate.
Yeah. So I'm making a little cleanup here.
As you can see, this is an old Tupperware
Yep.
bowl. Old. I don't know how old. Eons.
This is kind of a little stash. This is what I call my almost my breakfast stash for eggs. Not everything. We've got a lot more spices for eggs and everything else, but this is kind of the standby stuff. Time to paint your fingernails.
Let's try it. Because I don't have to knead it or anything. The bread.
It's amazing. Now, I don't paint my fingernails, but if I did, I would have time. If you can see very well, but the machine just came on after it's 3:25.
20 minutes.
So it was warming up about, what do you say, 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
And this machine has two. This machine is, the pan is more of a traditional size and shape pan. But it has two beaters in the bottom. The one we used to, our first bread machine, the pan was narrower and taller and had one beater in the bottom, and so the bread loaf was not really a traditional shape per se, and actually sometimes the beater, it was hard to get the bread out of it and the beater out of it to clean it all. Although it's a simple cleanup process, but you gotta be able to pull it off the shaft. But this one seems to work. That part of it works a lot easier. As far as the ingredients and adding stuff, basically the same. They're all simple, you know. So it'll do its thing here for a little bit. It'll tell you what it's doing. It's kneading and give you the time. And so we'll go to the next step here. Kind of see how the shape has changed in the dough ball for the bread. It's still kneading, and it's what we're at, 3 minutes or 3 hours and 15 minutes. So, are you excited about bread? Huh? Are you excited about bread? We're at 2 minutes, or 2 hours, 55 minutes. It's rising for the first time. And this will do a couple more times, I think, before it's actually done, before it actually starts baking. If you hear that noise in the background, it's the dog. He's dying there. He's dying. He's got to have a drink. As you can see, it's giving it a still rising. Give this a little bit of kneading intermittently. I forget how long it does this, but it's getting closer. We're down to 2 hours and 21 minutes, I think. Rising again. 1 hour and 56 minutes. They just keep it on rise, but I'd say this is a kneading. Just a little. You see it's starting to take shape.
It's still big on one end.
And while we're making bread, Mama's cleaning. Got a big birthday bash this coming weekend.
Birthday bash this weekend.
We got Austin will be 1 Friday.
On
Friday.
Jack and Jordan have a big birthday weekend, and they turn 8 next Tuesday, the 7th.
So part of it's going to be here. Part of it's going to be Tyler and Sarah's. And the kids got fun stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
So Mama's cleaning.
My favorite job. Getting ready to take this bread out. It is complete.
It is complete.
There we go.
Mmm.
A little lopsided.
This is the 3rd recipe we've tried in the last 3 loaves of bread. We're just kind of playing around with them.
There we go.
There we go. That usually releases pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That was with a little extra yeast that's not called for in the recipe. We're just kind of experimenting.
We'll see how less dense it is.
I think
it's a little
lopsided.
Little ugly, but it'll probably taste good.
Mm-hmm. We'll give her a shot here in a little bit.
Yep.
Let her cool off a little bit, and we'll just cut a piece and try it. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. With lots of butter.
Cut this little end off. Square it up, maybe.
I don't know if it...
The missus suggested next time we'll add a little more water. Just to see. Could use electric knife, but this worked about as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, pretty darn good. A little butter. Mmm. And I'm not sharing with anybody, but the missus.
It's good.
Everybody do, Ma.
I put it in a plastic bag.
No.
What?
More important. What do we want everybody out there to do? Like?
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Ding the bell.
Ding the bell. See you. God bless you. God bless America. Say a prayer for somebody today. See ya.